Welcome back. Each and Every Day is a documentary film about teen mental health. It is premiering on MTV this Tuesday, February 16th, and I recently had a conversation with the director of the film and a subject in the film who also created a mental health app for teens and found out why they decided to create this film, especially right now during the pandemic. Let's take a look. Today I am talking with award-winning director Alexandra Shiva about her career in the MTV Documentary Film Each and Every Day. Also joining us is Hannah Lucas, a subject in the film who has created an app. And this film discusses the experiences of young people and the urgency of talking about mental health and getting help. Alexandra and Hannah, I'm so grateful that you're here today, and this is such an important conversation. Alexandra, let's start with you. Tell me more about this film.
Well, Sheila Nevins actually approached me to make this film for MTV before the pandemic. And, it couldn't be more important now. I mean, it was important then, but it felt, once the pandemic started, it really felt incredibly urgent. And we met 9 incredible subjects, participants who were really wonderful and open and willing to talk about what had gone on for them, their suicidal ideations, attempts, and really mental health challenges, and then how they have recovered from those and are continuing to recover from those mental health challenges. And it was so inspiring. For my generation, I was so inspired by the way that young people are willing to talk about mental health. And because so many people have mental health challenges in their lifetime, the only way to deal with them is to talk about it.
And Hannah, you're a subject in the film. How are you doing? Tell me a little bit about your experience with mental health during the pandemic and what you're hearing from other teens your age.
Of course. Today I'm doing good, but to be honest, it's not always like that. I struggled with depression and anxiety really badly in the past, and this pandemic has taught me that it's not just a one and done thing. It's a constant, I don't want to say constant struggle, but it's a constant thing that I have to wake up and deal with, and this pandemic has definitely heightened that for me. But luckily now I know about, all the tools and all the free resources that I can use to prevent myself from hitting rock bottom again. So I'm just grateful for that.
Alexandra, what has made you so passionate about mental health, and what made you decide to really focus your energies on this in particular?
I am always interested in mental health, and I've always been interested in community, people trying to find community, people trying to come out of isolation. All of my films in some way deal with identity, community, and bridging gaps. And so there was something immediately appealing to me about making something that was geared toward a young audience. I also have made multiple films that are coming of age stories in a way. And this is coming of age in a particular time and with particular set of issues, but it is always in my work. I'm fascinated by the human spirit and resilience. And so that was an immediate fit for me in terms of making this.
Hannah, do you find that with your experiences and with your friends that you are with constantly, that it's hard to talk about mental health, or are the stigmas being broken down a bit? Are kids talking about it more? And is it not so hard to find help and to admit that you need help, or is that still there?
Honestly, I love talking about my story. I love talking about my mental health because I know that talking about it, every time you talk about it, it tears down the stigma a little bit more. So me and my friends were very open about it, but it wasn't always like that. I'm a Black girl. There's so much stigma around mental health in the Black community, surrounding the whole thing with Black excellence and Black strength. So talking about it, when I first started, I really had to realize that me being vulnerable enough to tell my story doesn't mean that I'm weak. It means that I'm still strong.
And you're showing so much courage by talking so openly about it. I have so much admiration for you.
Alexandra, what were some obstacles in filming this documentary, especially during the pandemic?
Well, we filmed about a third of it before the pandemic hit, and it was pretty intense. We were trying to figure out, do we stop? Do we continue? It felt more important than ever to continue. So we pivoted into remote shooting. We figured out how to connect people through Zoom. We use Zoom in the film, and Hannah and I were just talking about how when I interviewed her, we hadn't quite figured out the second camera so we finally figured out in the kit that we could send a second camera so that they could see me while they were speaking into their camera. So I realized that Hannah had heard my voice, but she hadn't gotten to look at me while we were doing the interview. And for me, I usually embed myself with the subjects for a long period of time. So it was definitely challenging to connect. So much of my work is about creating an intimacy so that the viewer feels connected, that they feel like they relate in some way, or that they can see aspects of themselves or aspects of their friends, that there's really an intimacy. And it's hard to create intimacy remotely, but we did it.
And Hannah, if someone is watching this interview or watching the film, especially if they're a young adult and they're struggling with their mental health and they don't know what to do or where to turn for help, what advice would you give them?
Reach out. I know that's like the easiest thing in the world to do, but it's also one of the hardest and one of the most challenging. But there are so many people around you that are there for your benefit, that are there because they want to help you. That's what my story and my past struggles have really taught me, is that your life doesn't touch only you, it touches everyone around you. So please just reach out and get help. And if you don't feel comfortable getting help with or talking to anyone around you, there are so many free resources. The crisis text line, multiple hotlines. So please just get help.
These conversations are so incredibly important, especially right now. So looking forward to watching this film. It's called Each and Every Day. It premieres Tuesday, February 16th at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on MTV. Hannah and Alexandra, thank you so much for speaking with us here today on Park City Television. So glad that you're taking the time to put a focus on mental health and young adults during this time.
Thank you so much.